What is going on, folks? I'm still trying to get this stream up. I am late. Forgive me. Forgive me. It is just myself, and I tonight. Uh, Peaches, or excuse me, Smee's wife is at a late term of pregnancy. God bless her soul. Hopefully, she's having an okay night. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, that's what he's doing. And then Potion, God bless his soul. He had a daughter's birthday today, so you know how that goes as parents. It takes up most of your day, brother. Most of your day. So just give me 1 second to see if this is even working, because I'm worried about this music on here. Takes up most of your day. Most of your day. So just give me 1 second to see. I hope I didn't. I really was trying on my mic today. Y'all don't even know. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Where we at? Where we at, Mike? Okay, 1 second here. Okay. Audio output speaker. I don't need audio output. Is speaker. All right, hang on. We gotta do a test mic here. Anyways, hang on. We may just run it. I was trying to get my situated here. I thought I had it situated. You ever think you have everything figured out just to get on and figure out you have nothing figured out? It's all good. Anyways, hey, first of all, thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for being present and always being a supporter of the Peach and Smee podcast, whatever we call this, Boom Boom Room, whatever. I had a lot of weird questions when we first started this. They were like, what is Boom Boom Room? A lot of them were like, is this like some kind of gentleman's club or whatnot? No, Boom Boom Room is not a gentleman's club. Sorry to say that. It's just a joke that we had going from the great movie Life. If you've ever watched it, there's a scene where he asked Ray, what's your dream, Ray? What's your dream? And Ray said he wanted to have a boom boom room. Basically, it was just a place where people got and they vibed and they had a good time. And so that's why we chose the name for Peach and Smee's Boom Boom Room, is because this platform is always supposed to be about having a good time, basing your opinions off of common sense, and so on and so forth. And that's what we try to do here. And hopefully, you guys watch that and see that, it's just nothing but good energy here, nothing but good energy. So, we talk politics, we talk sports, we talk maybe some conspiracy theories at times. We talk all that and above. Now, tonight, first night by myself, so who knows? Oh, I found out how to switch the microphone. Oh my gosh. How do I do this? Oh, all right. Let me check my audio. Tell me out, dude. I was super bummed last time when I was so bummed. Yeah. I was so bummed last time when I got on here. First podcast back, and then I just sound like I'm talking to my webcam mic, which was super annoying. That's all good, though. Let me just check if this is squared away, and then we'll continue our efforts to finish the rest of the show. That's all good, though. Let me just check if this is. Oh, that's so much better. We'll continue our efforts. So much better. So, guys, there's a thing out there that's called Chat GPT, a lovely source of knowledge that can help you when you're in a pinch. Anything, brother. Anything you need. Hey, Chat GPT. And I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical about AI. They haven't rolled quite into the new age. But I'm going to tell you, bud, if you look, AI's gained my respect. I'm going to tell you that because it saved me a lot of time, effort, sweat, and tears. So yeah, trust AI. It's not maybe not Elon's AI. Well, hey, I guess he's holding the reins right now, so we got to trust it. So, anyways, we had a couple topics for tonight. Some being political, some being this and that, whatever. So, like I said, it's my first time on here by myself. I'm going to chop it up like that, and then we'll just sift through them.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the questions that I had kind of preset and prepared to talk about with the others. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And our first topic. Remember, I said everything on this show we base off of common sense. We base off of just what would the people at our level understand. So obviously this past week you've had multitudes of across the United States, even soaked into Europe, brother, even soaked into Europe, this hands off protest. Now, I didn't quite understand it either. I saw a couple protests, almost hit one, not on purpose, totally on accident. But they get out in roadways with signs and stuff, so it's kind of hard to dodge them at sometimes. But let's just read what this protest is so we can all understand, because sometimes we speak and not understand. I've been guilty of it too. And I'm still guilty of it. But let's just read what this protest is, and then we will get into the questions about what this, how we feel about it. At least we can have a conversation. If you got, you got comments, comment. But we're gonna have a conversation about it. So let's look up on what this hands off protest is. Excuse me. I just ate. We were having some s'mores outside. Indigestion takes your breath away quite a bit. That's something you don't know until you get older. But God bless, you'll find out. All right, the hands off protests are a series of ongoing demonstrations launched across the United States on April 5th, 2025, in what is currently the largest one-day nationwide display of public resistance against the second administration of President Donald Trump, organized under the hands off. I don't even know what hands off. Like sometimes, man, when they organize these names of these protests, hands off of what? Hands off of what? That's what I'm like, if you could just be a little bit more acute with me, a little bit more precise on what you're trying. Hands off of what? Hands off my stuff? Hands off my girl? God forbid. Who knows? So obviously, like I said, we're going to go through the questions that I had to counter off of this here a protest. And keep in mind, like with this new administration, obviously a lot of stuff is going through. You look at the tax market, or whatever, stock markets. I don't know why I said tax market. The stock market. We have money in there. We have seen a significant drop, but I'm also a person, I like to say, with common sense. So everything in life you have to do to get. You have to plant to reap. Or excuse me, you have to sow to reap. You have to work out to get big. And guess what? So when you start doing it, it's gonna feel like bad. You ever not went to the gym in a dog's age? So as my good brother Love Potion says, in a dog's age, and then went back. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Matter of fact, when I'm going back to the gym, I find like the nonchalant. Sometimes I'll even join like just an elder gym, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you have to go in there and can't even get up 135 pounds as an adult. Well, you can get up 135 pounds, but trust me, go about 4 sets and then you start struggling with that. It's embarrassing. So that's what you have to do. So, moral of that conversation is, sometimes when a new administration sets in, like say Trump, or we'll even go back to Obama, the opposite side's going to have some type of resistance. You're going to have a protest. You're going to have people standing up at these meetings. And I heard the guy that stood up at the meeting, anyways, is I don't even know what my wife says. She said it's rough. Hopefully she's not talking about me. God forbid. It is rough. This hat, shout out to my family in the Smoky Mountains. I found this for $9.99, and my dog's already chewed it up, but look how cool the bill looks. Yeah, it looks like I've had fishing hooks or bottle caps all over this thing. So, anyways, yeah, so you're going to have plenty of resistance built up when a new anything comes in because you don't want to see it come in. Your ideology goes out the door, what you believe. Now, it just so happens that in this day and age, we have these extremist beliefs where we think it's life or death. It's life or death if Donald Trump gets back in there. It's life or death if we have Obama in office. It's life or death when look, I'm a realist in saying if I don't like people, I don't like people. But if they're driving the boat, I don't want them to crash it, or if they're driving the plane, I want them to land it safely. When we had Biden on there, and everybody wanted him to do bad, I was like, look, I really don't like the guy, but I would love him to do good. It wouldn't hurt me, not one bit. But that's just on a common sense level. So back to the tariffs. So now he's imposed these tariffs against these other countries, and I thought it was just a good idea, a good idea to just go and say this. I feel like half of us that are even mad or even partially mad, there's a small percentage that know. There's a small percentage that know. But when all these tariffs started cracking off, I had to Google. I'm not gonna lie. I had to Google what is a tariff. And come on, there's somebody out there that's like, they heard tariffs and Trump is imposing tariffs or whatever, and that's what they ran to. Well, nobody's shoving that down my face. We'll throw tea in the harbor. Okay, hey, look, we got to know what we're talking about before we know. So we're gonna just take a second and we're going to read what a tariff is. And I think they even dumb it down to the one I looked up earlier today. And no, I did not look up tariffs earlier today just to find that out. I knew that. I just had to brush up on my knowledge. Amen. So I know I should already have this looked up, but in your head, you know, you just predict that you have more time on here. When you get on here, everything moves so fast. The time that feels like it stands still is actually like very fast. So we're going to say, what is a tariff? And we're going to see the answer that we get. What is a tariff? And I think they dumb it down. So we're going to read the dumbed down version. What is a tariff in simple terms? AI overview. Praise God, AI. Look, just get smart enough to help us, not kill us. In simple terms, a tariff is a tax that a country's government places on goods imported from other countries, making those goods more expensive for domestic buyers and potentially protecting domestic industries from foreign competition. I don't have it. Look, if that is what you tell me that a tariff is, okay, so I'm just going to go on the understanding of like, hey, these are my people over here. I love them dearly. Go USA, Team USA. Um, I understand the concept behind the tariff. And I'm just taking Trump out of this. I'm taking anybody in politics out of this. I'm just saying if you came up to me on the street and said, "Hey, bro, you agree with the tariff?" Break it down to me, big dog. Tell me what you're. Let me smell what you're stepping in. So, if you said, "Hey, bro, what I want to do is we can make stuff harder for people on the outside to come in, such as other countries, such as, China wanted to come over here and say, hey, we're about to open this. We have, all this product that we can sell you to your country. But, they're just sliding in here, bam, 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 just doing business like this and like that. And meanwhile, we just let it come in our nation. People buy it. They're making money. And the U.S. is not making any dollars besides the tax. Now, with tariffs and tax, that's going to have to be a Smee question. I'm not that smart. Good. Look, I'm just a questionnaire and kind of keep a light mood on there. But I'm just going to the point of, do we understand tariffs before we tear them down? That's got to be a hook on here. Surely that's got to be a hook. I'm still in the gestation period of understanding them. I think at the iceberg of this, I understand, and I would say I agree because how is it fair? Now, keep in mind, do you understand that there are people out there in what was it? Europe. There was European cities all across Europe that was protesting for Donald Trump. Now, do you think how effective do you think that those protests were? We got to start looking at because guys, somebody funds these protests, and I don't know who does and how. Oh yeah, well, how much money can you give to people that just need a large sign and some markers to write on that? Somebody funds them to get all the people there and take care of business and make sure this is organized and make sure. Look, that happens. Don't think there's not funding behind these protests. Do not think there is. So we just have a million of them nowadays, and people will protest over anything. Over anything. With that being said, from the common sense standpoint that I seem to think is if you have a big problem with it, and I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with protests because it all makes sense in timing and relevancy. But if you've got that big of a problem, step up. Step up. That's my question. Why hold a sign in the middle of the street? So onlookers that already don't like your opinion can just see you, and then half the time you look radical. And I'm not saying like just keep in mind I'm saying this is for both sides of the party. I'm not just saying them over there, the ones that were doing it yesterday. Yes, sir, get them. No, no, no. I'm saying all protesters because sometimes these people just go out there and they're pissed, man. God forbid, but I'm just keeping it real. They're mad. So that yeah, look, we're gonna read a couple of these questions that GPT had, and I'm just gonna answer them. The way I know how to. Tariff, tariffs. Like I said, still in the gestation period of understanding. I'd like, and everybody's gonna be like, "Well, you should understand that." I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not leaning. I'm not leaning away from it. If you needed to know. All right, so listen, how effective are mass protests like hands off and actually influencing policy when the administration has already made its stance? They're going to do what they're going to do. I don't know. Have you ever had a job at a corporate company? My wife's probably putting thumbs up right now. Had a job at a corporate company, and you mention something, they don't care. You say something, they don't care. Uh, yeah, brother, they don't care. So I don't think that protest is the most, especially physical protests. Because 9 times out of 10, it's at the place of some public place. Then you're just holding signs and you're shouting at people. Who wants to be shouted at when you're trying to win our opinion? Protest is trying to raise awareness. I feel like protests have become this thing that has brought up probably out more violence than it has awareness in some stances. Now, I'm not saying again, I'm not anti-protest. I'm saying there has been some good ones, but I think there's more effective ways. With Colin Kaepernick back in the day, it's not that I didn't agree with what he was trying to do of raise awareness. I just thought that there was more there was better ways. There's pretty smart ways to look at that, and like I said, I think he could have went about it just on the lines because there's gonna when you do that, you're gonna have half the people. There's some stuff when you do, you've got to know, like, bro, you're already getting disagreed with. So I mean, he knew that. So one thing I will say for Colin Kaepernick is he stuck with it. He stayed consistent with this from whatever 2017 when he last got. I think he threw 4 picks in the last game. And I don't say, I just find it funny the audacity of him coming back and saying he was just a solid quarterback. And look, he was a second string at best. Other than that, we'll stick to the protest sports. We got sports news coming up in the summer. Stay tuned for that. Peach&Smee. So we're going to go to the next question. Do protests that span internationally like this one increase pressure on the U.S. president, or Or are they more symbolic in nature? Um, I feel like it's always going to increase pressure, at least at the start of it, just because nobody wants you to come in and tell them this is what you're doing now. Nobody, and that's just what happened. So hopefully we can, get out there and do some. I'm trying to find these big old like campaign words like diplomacy, right? And we can get out there and have a good relationships with a few of them and understand why, and then also cut deals for them so that they could do business easier with us. If they're scratching our back just like we're scratching theirs, hey, fair is fair. I'm just gonna say that. Anyways, we're gonna get past this conversation. Sorry, I was just reading something real quick. Anyways, other than that, look, protests that like that's my whole love you, Alberto. Alberto, all love, brother. So that's my whole deal on the protests. Like I said, is it my place to say they're right or wrong? I always think if you have something to say, find your way in a nonviolent form. In a, I like heartfelt because if you want to get me, you strike me at the heart, and like you show me a picture of some kids that ain't eating over there in Africa. Well, yeah, absolutely. Let me find 5 or 10 that I got. Let me find 5 or 10 that I got for them kids to donate. But I like seeing it, Sometimes, like I said, protests again get crazy. Next conversation. So we're gonna go to the conversation of dun dun dun. Anthony Edwards. Love the ball player. Love all that he does. Great guy. But apparently he's found himself outside the media in some situations that could be questioned. Well, not that could. They are questionable from a lot of people's standpoint. And so Anthony Edwards met a girl, Miss Howard. We're gonna refer to her as Miss Howard because if you need to know I'm a one man show tonight. I'm sitting here picking up the phone, doing this, da da da, looking, So we're a little short handed here tonight. But so Miss Howard and Anthony Edwards, presumed to. We're gonna just. I'm trying to keep it political, but we just say it like it is. Have a night together, and when you have a night together and you don't think about consequences, you get 2 plus 1. That's what they had. A child, and then this, but whatever happened between them, I don't know if it was just meant for one night. I don't know if it was mucho toxicity. Not sure. They didn't communicate after or much after. And then when she found out she was pregnant, this Anthony Edwards, I'm assuming through a series of texts. We're not just going to say he just was like, go get an abortion. No, but he did eventually text her, go get an abortion. I think that's on text. I don't want to, don't take me that, but anyway, what was agreed on was that's the route that they both agreed that they thought they should take. After that fact, I think they settled. I don't know. They settled. I think he paid. Excuse me. He paid her money. I'm trying to remember all this vividly. He paid her money to go do what she had to get done. Then out of nowhere, the girl's has a baby, and he's wondering like, hey, if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, if it's a duck, if it looks like you and talks like yours, it's probably yours, brother. So real quick, yeah, of course he knew. And here's where it gets dirty and gritty and grimy and all of this and that. And look, it's hard because this is a lot of women have had an opinion on this topic. And, yeah, rightfully so. I'm always going to say if you are a mother and you are a father and you have a child, you should have an opinion on that child. But you have to work together. That's what we have to do. Opinion, but works together to grow that child. Anyways, she seemed from articles that she maybe had some motives financially. Not sure if that because this all this knowledge just keeps coming out, and we're just reading it as we go. But what we do know is Anthony Edwards took a different route and decided that he was going to drop the bag, brother. Drop the bag for 18 years of child support right off the rip, front the money. Now, of course, like we said earlier, every action there's a reaction. Of course, a lot of women and people didn't like that because you're dropping the bag, but you're dismissing yourself. I don't know too much. I'm like I said, my wife and my two kids, we are all together, and I love my two kids. I see them every day, see them every night. Wouldn't want to do it any other way. Obviously, man's got a lot to do. Was Look, guys, anytime you ask me about any kind of thing of abortion and all that stance, look, I'm just gonna say there was parties that were responsible, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair because guess what? We know when we go into dark rooms and doing things we shouldn't be doing with somebody we shouldn't be doing them with, stuff can happen. So then we come to what Anthony Edwards has. He pays the first eight, like fronts the money for 18 years of child support. Now we have Mr. Edwards doesn't want to be a part of his child's life. And I kind of got mixed emotions on that because I'm like, look, I couldn't see me doing that. I couldn't see me doing that. I love Anthony Edwards as a player. I couldn't see me doing that, but I don't understand the situation all the way. So part of this peeks into the child support realm of things. And so that's where I was asking or assumed, is the child support system broke? Well, first of all, we're going to have the thing with Anthony Edwards, let's acknowledge that before we go on. If he doesn't want to be a part of the kid's life, like I said, to me that would be hard. But I haven't been in a situation where. And hey, guys, I'm glad to know if you feel like you comment. I think if you are a dad, I think you should be. You should be involved because here's the deal, man. It's a child. It's going to come up against this thing we call life in the world, and it's going to look so. The reality of some of this stuff is there are girls and there are men or whatever. It could be anybody that plant themselves and they may want to gain one rung up the ladder for whatever. That this situation sort of kind of sounds like Anthony Edwards was an NBA player. She knew that, and it seemed like a kind of an advantage situation. So, but two wrongs don't make a right. You had the baby, you chose to do what you did. Now you got a kid. I don't think you could just dismiss that. Although I think somebody had to think. Everybody's sitting there thinking that's so crazy that he did that. Rather, 18 years. Like I was in awe when I first saw that. I've never saw something like that in my life. Hey, here's the money. Bye. Something must have happened there. I don't know. I'd love to know more of that story as it unfolds, and I'm sure we'll keep up with it. But back to the child support. I'll say this. If you are an active father in your kid's life and you take her to those before school, go get some new shoes, and she stays at daddy's house for 1 month in the summer, and you're doing all this with her, and you're taking her to some of these practices and you're taking him to some of these tryouts and games or whatever you have or just whatever kids do, you're involved. I don't think you should be getting waxed by child support. I'm just sorry. I don't think you should. Reason being, you're involved. What more better is an involved father just as much as an involved mother, ladies? Don't shoot me down. Just as much as an involved mother. What is better? Not too much. It's somewhat priceless. It's hard to beat an uninvolved. It's hard to beat an involved father because guess what? There's certain skill sets that the woman and the man have, and it makes up to grow children. Don't know why. That's just the way God made us. But the question that I do have, what could we do to fix that? Because like I said, I do feel like child support's broken. Somebody's going to comment, well, are you paying child support? Well, no, I'm not. So I can't have an opinion. I'm just an outside looking in saying, hey, like, I don't know if you want to. I'm just seeing it this way. But if you want to, I'm kind of seeing something different. Because let's be honest, man, I would like to counter that argument with how many child support receivers actually do what they're supposed to do with the child support money. That's what I'd like to know. Or much less if they even need it. Like, granted, they need it, but does it go to the child or does it go to the parent? God forbid if there's a new boyfriend, Jimmy John over there. So that's where I think I would have a problem. Especially if I was involved. Now, if you're not involved, man, you got to do something. You got to take responsibility. I got my kids right now, and I'm trying to tell them like they're learning they can get punished after too. And what do you mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let me get a drink. I got a drink over here. I'll tell you what I mean by that, big dog. When you do something, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, there's consequences after. Likewise, if you don't do nothing in your preparation, the consequences come during what you're doing. Because now you're like, when we get on this podcast, maybe even this one, like when it gets thrown together like that, and you're just spitting at the, just trying to do whatever you can do, it shows. It may not show to you, but it shows to me. That's what I'm trying to instill in them kids. I totally forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, so an uninvolved father, yeah, brother, you probably gonna have to pay some. And no, but here's my question: is there not any way that we could put a percentage of this that funnels to say, um, I was trying to think of a cool word to say daughter or son or daughter. Yeah, is there a way we could funnel that? Is there a way, say, I'm on the lines of like, why not set aside where you kind of pay towards the principal, which is like going towards college or like doing something later in life, so you could set them up there. Because you get some of these, I ain't gonna say who, but they get a bag of money and they're off to Ross, Marshalls for crying out loud. What's that other place? Michael's. Hey, well, you're supposed to be going to HEB, not no. Come on, I'm not going to preach, but I'm just saying that I'll leave that right there. If you're approached, do you? Let's ask this: do you think our child support? I don't know how. I don't even know how. I'm sure it's the states. Our child support or where you live is broken, and why? Because I'm curious. I'm not in it. I just have an opinion when I see stuff like this. When a guy says, "Take my money. Here's 18 years upfront child support," and I'm like, well, I guess if you don't want to be, because the man actually paid more than what they were asking. But if you don't want to be involved and you just chunk a bag out there, a wad of money, I don't know. Maybe she got what she wanted, and he lost a couple of million, but he got what he wanted. So I'm leaving it there. It's probably gonna get ugly in court again. We'll be watching that one. It's interesting. Well, it's not gonna get ugly in court. He already paid her out, so it's just gonna look bad for TMZ. Anyways. Next topic and the last topic that I want to finish about is just being raised in a small town, brother. Nothing else better than being raised in a small town. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Now, it does get a little sticky when I noticed that today as you go to some of your local grocery stores, and you can't miss a beat. Like today, some dude was like, "Dang, bro, why's your shirt all wet?" I'm like, God, dude, I'm just sneaking in here to get some multi-surface cleaner. Said, bro, I just washed dishes. We got a hard splashback from our spouts mitts. I couldn't find the right size spigot or whatever missing, so we get some kickback. That's the realism, but it's just funny to me. I laugh at some of the humor at the country, in these little small southern towns. Would I say I'm as redneck as everybody? Absolutely not. But the humor, if you can stand back and look at it from a certain point, it is very funny. So, how does growing up in a small town shape your sense and identity? Well, you gravitate to what the town gravitates to. You get in some of those one of the five churches that are there. You start participating. You build this culture, whatever that culture is. Which I'm in Coons, Texas right now. We've got, I feel like, storage buildings that just are open every Saturday. I don't go to them, but they're right across the street from my house. I love watching them. I get excited when I see more people at them. Strange. But yes, obviously it does shape. If I was raised in New York or wherever, I don't think I'd be near as nice. I don't think I would. I don't think I would because those Northerners, despite people up there in Louisville, Ohio, you know, oh dude, I can't. I'm telling you, it happened to me again. I opened the door for a guy the other day, and he kind of had this Northern posture. That's why I say that, but didn't say thank you, dude. I could fight somebody. I thought like that's just pure disrespect. You do something for me, I better tell you thank you. So forth. My kids as well. Okay, what's one thing you miss most about us, your small town? The thing that you're glad that you have left behind. I haven't left behind nothing, so I'm not going to go behind what I miss about my small town. When I grew up here, we used to have, and for the Christian people out there, don't think I went left. They're gonna think I backslid. We used to have this little bar right on the corner. It was called the Curb, and we'd have always, like, even late at night, you'd have guys just sitting out there chilling, vibing, and it was right across the street from probably the more popular late night gas stations. And yeah, they would just be out there all night chilling, and sometimes you'd pass that, and man, it's like the world stops for them there. That was kind of a cool little place. I like seeing. Now, of course, somebody's gonna be like, "Well, you like when they get in the bars?" No, I just like when community can come together. Time ain't a factor, and they can just chat about old times, chat about old people in the community, chat about old players, talk about what could be better. That's what makes a small town special, because a lot of times our belief sets align when we come together, not just holding a sign with some kind of weird saying. Not to knock protests, but anyway. So we're just gonna, and then last but not least, we'll ask one more question. And I didn't even know I went in here for 38 minutes. Pretty good, pretty good. What's a small town moment that made you realize, yep, this ain't the big city? I mean, there's one every day in Koontz. I could tell you, it's like when you pull up to a gas station, and here's the thing which y'all don't know about. Like, I'm sure you do, but when you pull up to a gas station and you get out and you're walking to the front door to go in the gas station, when you know you're this ain't the big city, is when you hear all of a sudden just and sorry to be so dramatic in the mic, but that's old Billy Bob coming down the road in his 1980s Ford that his daddy gave him. That his daddy gave him. And guess what? That thing backfires every time he hits the brake. Every time he lets off the gas, it pop, 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 pop. You ain't hearing that. You're not hearing that in the cities. We went to Santa Barbara, California one time in a diesel truck, a flatbed diesel truck. We were pulling a load for an individual, And dear God, did I ever have a hard time just finding the diesel station? They don't believe in them trucks. They don't believe in them 4x4s, them six O's, them 7.3s. They don't believe in that out there. And then just when I feel like we care. Yeah, we care. If my neighbor had something happen, I would go over there. Or if something in town happened, three of us would probably gather up and talk about what happened. Oh, what did he do? Can we help? Big cities, man, they see you have a flat tire, they're passing up. They're passing you up, and hey, best of luck to you. But, anyways, look, guys, that is all I had for tonight. I was just trying to come on here, hop on, give it a swing. Kind of excited to see what it was like by myself. Next time, we should have old Pete. Excuse me, I keep calling Peach. I keep calling my podcast buddy Peach, and he's Smee. You know this. So Smee should be back. Potion should be back. Hopefully they rested up. Hopefully Smee has a healthy wife, healthy life with her pregnancy. And then happy birthday to Miss Love Potion's daughter. He gets weird. He gets weird about names. Just saying. But we love him. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for always sort of supporting Peach and Smee. Go over. I think we got T Top Network on YouTube. We also have a Peach and Smee's, but we've got a lot of the stream stuff on there. A special announcement coming out this summer, June, July. Don't know yet. Probably, yeah, most definitely June. Now that I think about it, but that's going to be a surprise, and I think a lot of you are going to really like that, especially if you like helmets and cleats. I don't know. That's just trying to get sneak it in there. But thank you again. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We just try to talk and base stuff off common sense and, have a good time. We ain't mad about nothing. We're just talking. Anyways, guys, appreciate it. God bless. Until next time, this is a Peach and Smee Boom Boom Room. Always, always, brothers. It was my honor. I thought that was going to end on that. God bless you.